Welcome to episode 9 of the OOC, where we talk about stuff.
And things.
And things. Stuff we...
Other.
And other stuff.
Usually game related. Not always. Mostly. So, last night...
We've been on that Segway train coaster.
It is. We've been on this Segway train coaster for a long time. So last night, our episode 13 dropped. I actually have a question.
Okay.
I want to know from Anika what it was like to basically wait an hour and a half.
No, it was like 2 hours.
Is it 2 hours?
It was 2 hours.
Shenanigans, and you're just like, I'm in a rice paddy.
Well, I mean, if you watch the video, I'm literally sitting there doing this.
Yeah.
Just waiting, and then messing around with my chair. Because, like, I didn't want to go on my phone, because I was like, I didn't want to, like, do that, because I have to watch and make sure things are going right with recording. So I was like, I can't just completely zone out. So I was just sitting there, like, fucking around with my, like, chair the whole 2 hours. And taking notes. I mean, I did take some notes.
What would it like to be a viewer, Anika?
I mean,
I imagine it was even more frustrating, because there were moments where our group was like, basically like, okay, now it's time to go, and somebody would be, but wait.
And then you guys were like, let's not go to the portal, and I was like, are you kidding me?
The portal. I was like, well, I guess Anika's character is going to get introduced in a completely brand new way that I haven't thought of right now.
Yeah, you guys were like, let's not go to the portal, and like you could kind of see like Sarah and I just both kind of like look at each other.
Just like,
it was so funny.
Anika, like, be ready to go on the fly with me. You are now like crabs out in the woods somewhere. I don't know, man.
So we have on this show talked about like metagaming, player knowledge, game knowledge, how to blend these things, and how to basically try to ignore your own personal knowledge and think about what your character is going to do. But during our bio break, Sarah was basically like, you kind of have to go to this portal. Like,
She was like, I don't want to railroad you guys, but I'm gonna railroad you guys.
Yeah, because Sarah is not that DM. Sarah is never like railroady, but was like, this one time, I just need you to go to the portal. And we're like, okay,
I'm like, you don't have to go in. You just have to go find it. Like, you just have to go find the last portal. You guys have been talking about it for 4 games. We're going to go find the last portal. We're going to go find the last portal. We're going to go find the last portal. And then you realize, like, nah, we're not going to go. And I'm like, are you serious? As a DM, I have certain expectations. And those expectations are for you guys to follow through with the things you've been talking about for 4 episodes. So I can just be like, okay, they're going to the portal. They're going to the portal. They're going to the portal. No, they're not.
Because I think it was, we learned.
What it was for me was that, like, a lot of it, I was hangry. I was personally hangry. And so, like, I was just trying to, like, get moving so that, like, we could be going somewhere, because my hanger got interpreted into Jack as, I'm impatient.
Right.
I just want to go poke stuff with my sword.
Friends, I do not care where we go, but we need to go.
So that was the metagame on that one.
Other fun fact, I woke up that morning. I mean, these people already know, so I'm telling you, our viewers. I woke up that Sunday morning real sick. Like, I had what we have here called a cedar fever, which is a very bad case of it's like not just a bad case of allergies. Like, you literally get a fever, you are sick. But it is caused by allergens. At any rate, I had dosed myself up on so much allergy medication so that I would not be sneezing and snotting through the whole recording. And I barely remember what happened. Like, when I was trying to put it together in my head, I was like, Finland and Whistler went to talk to somebody. We learned something. Other people went to a library. We learned about calendula. Anika lives in a rice paddy, but is also a pirate. Yep, I think I nailed it. That was my takeaway.
Not a pirate, I just have a jacket like a pirate.
like what stuck in my head. I'm like, I don't know. They live in a rice paddy and they're
They in fact do not live in a
No.
rice paddy.
No.
no.
I
but
just
it's
work
hard
there.
to-
Paddy.
Adult brain is concerned.
That's where we met them. So
Oh, her. I should say, because I'm still used to
sorry.
ask her.
thank you.
Yeah, this brings us to one of our topics, which is introducing a new PC or a group. And so Anika and I have obviously talked about their new character, and they were, saying, "Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds great. Yes, let's do that. Sounds good. Yeah, whatever you want to do." And just so you guys know, Nelia was given a special magical item
Yeah.
of her background. And so I was like, okay, and Anika was like, okay, she is a fisher person in town and lives on a houseboat. Spoiler.
Not a pirate.
No.
Not a pirate. And I'm like, cool. All right, I got to think of a way for Nelia to get to the group and the group to get to Nelia without having to introduce like another complication. Like I didn't want it to be like, oh, the houseboat is sinking. You guys have to go save her or whatever it is. So this is when I start bringing up the topic that I said I'm going to talk about. So there's the big joke about like writers and their Google search histories and like, you're searching like how to get rid of a body and like all these other things. Well, it applies to DMs as well, or to anybody in like the TTRPG community. So whatever the players have to look up for their characters, I also have to look up. So I have a basic knowledge of it and go further. So my search history is bonkers. So this search history was rice paddy, fish, ecoculture. And so I went in a deep dive. I was like, okay, what kind of fish live in rice
How
paddies?
deep can you dive in a rice paddy?
Yeah, I'm like, not that far. So I'm like, what kind of fish live in rice paddies? Because they have a symbiotic relationship of fish and rice paddies. Like I know it happens. And so like it was an hour. And then I was like, okay, this search. And I was like, okay, but then you don't really fish in a rice paddy. You don't like get a pole and fish. And then I found a specific crab. It's called a rice paddy crab. It is literally called a rice paddy crab. And I was like, cool. That is what Anika's character is doing.
Dude,
Anika's
rice paddy crabs look so scary.
So
You sent me the thing, and I looked at the picture, and I did not like it. I was like, I don't like this, and I did not want to look at it anymore.
Your character has gotta like it.
It was so scary. I did not like it.
They are edible, so I'm like, so what the idea is, Nelia has a deal with the people who own the rice paddy that she puts crab pots out, catches these crabs, which are sort of parasitic on the rice, and then Nelia goes and both cooks and eats the crabs and sells them because they are edible and you can make food out of them. So it's a symbiotic relationship, not just between the crabs and the rice paddy, but between Nelia, the local fisher person, and the people who own the rice paddies, who I still don't know who they are yet. So that is why Nelia was out in the rice paddy collecting crabs and not paying attention to the giant portal, because she was so focused on the crab pots that she was checking on. So
yeah,
so,
definitely looking up these pictures, and yeah, that's.
I don't like it.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of seafood generally, crustaceans. But like them getting like prepped to like get.
Wait, move it a little more.
To eat.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm like, I'm a pass.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't like it.
I'm sure it's delicious. It would kill me. I'm sure it's delicious. I'll stick to my rice pudding.
So, so what was I saying about introducing a new PC is we had a way for Aster to leave with Grace and, possibility of coming back and all of those things. Yes, hello, segment. I don't know, she's just meowing. And then, so we were thinking of a way to introduce Nelia. So that's why I was like, what does your character do? So if you want any tips, whatever, as the DM, talk to the player of said PC. Figure out what that character is all about, and figure out how to introduce them in a quote unquote natural way. Not just you wake up the next morning and there's somebody new at your camp. Like, I mean, you could do that. It's perfectly reasonable. But as in like, have your players encounter them on a way to something they're already going to, like a portal.
Now, to be fair, we just learned the very exciting information that the person thing that we were looking for lives underground.
Yeah.
So
And Yeah, it's been a whole thing for Jag. Like she just really she's over this whole like introspection thing. She just wants to stab stuff. And
Right? I feel like Finland is in a similar boat. Is like, I don't want to think about it. Let's go kill a thing.
yeah. I hope that this universe has Medicare for all because she needs therapy.
That
Yeah.
is a possibility.
Yeah.
Therapy is easy to be gotten.
I'm just
I
ready
feel
for
like-
you guys to figure out discover the clusterfuck of a backstory I made for my character.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Aw.
I don't know what to do with you. You seem to want to come with us, but I'm trying to let you know this is a bad idea.
I
Again,
kind of love
and
that
then-
where we're like, very dangerous that way. New person followed us.
Well, and then Elliot's just like, you guys don't know me. I don't know you guys. I can do this. You don't know that, but I'm not scared.
I am. You guys, we're in a place that like relies on order and not chaos. And we do not
And we
have a
brought
great track
Robin.
record.
You guys also don't have the one person who could do the disguised self and turn into one of them. Because that was
No,
literally
and I
our
don't know
plan.
how well, I don't know how well we would have pulled that off.
I
in a weird
honestly didn't
system.
expect you guys to go in.
Robin.
So I had the map prepared, but I was ready for you guys to be like, okay, we found the portal. We are contacting the Emerald Protectors to come close it. And you guys are like, we go in, and I'm like, okay, well, I got the map ready. So
Well, I think so. Part of it is that like Zero says yes, like the big bad is in this portal, right? And Finland is definitely like,
Are we really just doing a bunch of like Thor Ragnarok gifs at this point? Is it though?
Yeah.
and so I think there's a like this requires recon. The problem is that the way our group works, there's no Finland sticks her head in and looks around, because as soon as anybody goes through the portal, any part of a person, like Robin and Whistler, are going to go through. And it's like, once Robin and Whistler are through, we might as well bring everybody through, because who's going to look after Robin and Whistler?
But you guys have got a stealthy person though now. Technically.
Ooh.
Not that you guys
But will
know
it
that.
balance
I
out-
don't know that.
You don't know what I can do, but you guys have a stealthy person now. With a ferret.
Yeah,
Sarah, what are you working on? That looked nifty.
Yeah,
it is a giant rectangle, which I'm assuming is going to be a blanket. I've got more to go. I want to finish it before I move, so that I'm not moving yarn, but moving an actual blanket.
Are you using up like yarn that's left over from other?
No, this is yarn purchase for this project.
Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
but I want to move an actual blanket as opposed to however many more skeins of yarn I have left.
That's fair.
So yeah, I'm also sewing a lot more. I'm like, not that I don't sew anyway, but I'm like, I'd rather move clothes than fabric, than just like folded fabric. So all of my days off, I've been like, okay, what am I gonna make today?
I've noticed that. We're like,
That is not game related.
I'm like, it's Tuesday. I am struggling to get through my to-do list. And then Sarah's like, made a dress of a duvet.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
the
go on
two
Minecraft.
2 dresses, I should point out.
Yeah, and a matching kerchief.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, how's your quarantine going?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot done on Minecraft.
I'm building a third base, having not finished my other 2 bases.
This is my stock space. We went on a little mini end bus. All right. So
I had gender affirming surgery, so yeah.
Yay!
No more
No more fallopian tubes.
No more the baby holdies. Well, like babies aren't supposed to be in fallopians. I'm very good at biology.
Okay, okay. Please don't make me laugh too hard because it hurts.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, the people around me, like, laughter is a great thing. And
Right? I thought laughter was healing.
I literally have an incision in my belly button. Yeah.
I have a really, really, really deep belly button. And so I'm always like, when they talk about like, yeah, what is it, microscopic surgery that goes through the belly button, I'm like, I feel like you're gonna
Endoscopic
spend
surgery?
yeah, endoscopic. I'm like, they did it on my shoulder and I can't even remember what it's called. And I just feel like you're gonna be like hours just getting through to the bottom of the belly button. It's like a giant blue hole. I mean, it's not blue, clearly, but that was a random topic.
Well, but yeah, so for those of y'all watching, if you see me making weird faces, I'm okay. I'm in recovery still.
I just
and,
like that your shirt, or at least what we can see, if it just goes eat. So I'm sorry. Let's talk about something
it says
very
keep
serious.
it classic.
I still want one that says, I'm so old school, I had one button.
But yeah, now that you
Welcome,
pointed out that
Atari
it says
fans.
eep, I am
We had a
purposely putting
ColecoVision.
my sweater so that it says eep.
We
Okay.
didn't have an Atari. We had a ColecoVision.
ColecoVisions are cool.
Yeah, we had. If we're talking about gaming stuff, we had a ColecoVision, and then we had a Sega Master. We were Sega family. We had Sega. We didn't do Nintendo. So we had a Sega ColecoVision, a Sega Master System, a Sega Genesis. We had the Sega 32X. We had the Sega friggin' CD. The Sega Jaguar. It was terrible. It was terrible. And the Saturn. Like we were Sega products. And there's a game. Now we're talking about weird gaming shit. There was a game on Sega CD. It was called Dark Wizard, and I love this game. It was one of the first it's like this strategy RPG game. It was amazing. Finding for an emulator, finding Sega CD ROMs for an emulator are hard, and they don't work, and it's terrible. So I want to play this game so bad, and there's nowhere for me to find it on the internet so I can play it and forget about it.
There was what was it on Netflix? I don't know. Somebody did it was like a history of video games, and it was like super cool, and I felt like I was reliving my childhood.
My first console was a PlayStation 2.
That was my last console.
I had the Godzilla game that was basically Super Smash Bros, but Godzilla. And then we also had the Boba Fett game or something. It was like it was a Mandalorian game or Boba Fett. It was cool.
Probably Boba Fett.
I think it was like Boba Fett. It was real cool. Yeah, and then we got a Wii. And then I had a DS.
Atari, and then I did PC games, and then I just didn't game. And then when Caden was little, we got the Wii. And I was like, okay, this isn't bad. Sports Resort. This is fun.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, we go back to characters, right?
Right. Just so you know, a bunch of us play video games too. That's
Tanya and I play Minecraft all the time together.
Yep. True story.
If you guys ever want to see that, you can see me stream on Twitch. Oh.
And Tanya will sometimes be there.
Yes.
I do have a question then, regarding like introducing new characters and that sort of thing. So, I don't know about y'all, but I am definitely doing a lot of metagaming. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely doing a ton of metagaming when it comes to adding Nelia in as a member of the party, because like Jack's first instinct is to just be like, no, not happening.
Yeah, I'm not real sure because we're not actually to the part where Finland's had to react, because we just sort of stepped through the portal and then like Amelia followed us.
See, that's what I wanted to do.
Gonna leave you in a patty being a pirate.
What I wanted to do, I was like, I wanted everybody else to go in and be like, I'll be like, oh, I won't go, and then like sneak in and follow you guys, and be like, these people are cool.
I liked the instinct though that you had, which was kind of like, I don't trust this person. but I cannot trust this person and leave this person at my rear, which seems like a very bad idea, or I can push them through and at least I have an eye on them. And I kind of think that that's where we are. But I agree. There is sometimes, and everybody has, I almost knocked my light over. I think everybody has these games, and it's not a bad way to like get started, which is you don't know anybody, but you're in a tavern or you're at the jobs board and like just go, right? Which is like a far more casual way of creating story, and it's totally fine. But when you're trying to do like kind of a version of immersive theater,
Yeah, when you're trying to tell not just tell a story with your friends with nobody watching, but when
Right.
you're trying to tell a story to other people, I always try to explain to people, I'm like, I've even put in here, I'm like, the games that I run for like my home games are far more chaotic. Like they go off the rails so much more. I'm just like, whatever you want to do. But for this, I have to think we have to do things in a specific way, even down to the part of like the art that we use. And speaking of art and like the maps that we use and stuff, if it's a home game, I'll just go find a random map on the internet and put it up on Roll20 because we're not making money off of it. But for this game, I use maps that are listed as free, or we have Yas supports some map makers on Patreon, so we do pay them for the maps through Patreon. So, and the same thing with artists, like the art that we use, we have to have permission. Somebody commissions, we have to have permission, whatever it is, from the artist to use that art because we are putting it out in the world. So we have to have a cognizant, like, we have to be cognizant of what we're doing when we record and put it up on the internet. If it was just like a home game, I've been like, yeah, you guys met in you guys met on a soccer field. I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
You know, cool, you guys are playing soccer with each other. Okay.
And
But
I also think
we had to develop character a little bit more before we started.
right. But I to piggyback on what Amelie was saying, right, is that it's kind of on us as actors, right, to think about
and not lead storytellers.
and not right.
Supporting
We're the co-storytellers. But that it's on us to look for the little cracks, the way that like, okay, what would my character do here that is going to positively move this story forward? Where's my yes and, basically, right? So you have this character and we're meeting as we talked about in the last OOC, that you have this new character that you're encountering right on the heels of this really traumatic event that is leaving you trusting kind of no one outside of your immediate circle. And we're even traveling with a person who we don't 100% trust. But in improv, you're constantly looking for the yes and. So we find this person and what's the yes and, right? To be in. And I think, Jack does a kind of a, you kind of did the sort of sister to yes and, which is no but. Yeah. Which is I don't trust you, but come along because I'd rather have eyes on you. Right. And but yeah, if you're just sitting around a table telling a story, it, like Sarah says, is you don't have to find any deep meaning. But if you want to, like if you're invested, if your group is invested in making deeper, more meaningful storytelling that hangs together, then yeah, you have to play yes and, which is somebody has given me information. I have to say, I accept this information and I'm going to turn it to, positively move the story forward. And when I say positively move the story forward, I don't mean make
Happiness and rainbows,
but not making it. So I think we mentioned in a previous the OOC, but I can't remember. My mom made a comment about the like DM GM storyteller being the lead storyteller, but that everybody at the table is storytelling. And you don't want to become the person at the table who's making that storytelling difficult. Now that doesn't necessarily mean throwing everything about your character out the window and just accepting everything as it is, but looking for the ways that you can move the story forward, knowing that this thing has to happen, this person has to be included, you have to go to this portal, right? What makes sense? And look for that. And I think that's what you saw us do, because we were like, basically Finland was like, oh, it lives underground. We're going to go look underground. And then Sarah was like, you have to go to the portal. And we were like, okay, the way around that, the yes and is that Zareth is convinced that this thing is in the portal. So that's where you hang that idea. And that's the yes and, as you go with, okay, the person we think who is very knowledgeable about this says this, we go with that information. That was my very rambly way of saying yes anding and no budding is important in storytelling.
I also, with the whole trust thing, it was funny, like, because I knew that would be an issue with this, I went and talked to Ari. I was like, I have to have known you. I was like, my character has to have seen you around. And so we came up with this whole thing, which is really funny, and I want to tell some of it because it's really funny. So Whistler, when you guys saw Whistler, was like, Nelia, and then quoted something that my character has said to her. Because my character sells fish and stuff. I almost said fish and shit. I sell fish and shit. I mean,
it is really good fertilizer. So
also fish poo in the sea where they live.
Where they live.
So what happened was Whistler came to do grocery shopping for the temple, and saw that I was a tiefling, and I assumption is that there are not a lot of tieflings in Rindenhurst. Right. And so Whistler had never seen one before, was just like, this looks weird, and cast the thing to see if I was bad or a fiend. And I saw Whistler do it because Whistler wasn't very stealthy, and Whistler was just like,
that's not Whistler's thing. That's
So I saw Whistler do it, and Whistler's just like, oh no, I'm so sorry, and bought all of my fish that day. That was their shopping. Yeah, so that's
also very Whistler.
Yeah, so that's what Ari and I talked about, and that's how Whistler knows Nelia, is because Whistler did that and bought all of my fish.
I feel like Finland, even though Finland grew up in an area that is we're very insulated in some ways, but we interact with the outside world in other ways. But so she wouldn't be on trade routes or anything like that, meeting a lot of other people. But I'm like, Finland has grown up with individuals who have horns on their heads, and has now met an individual who changes color based on the seasons. And is kind of like, okay, it's now a person with horns on its head that's a different color. That tracks. I feel like it makes total sense to Finland. Whatever it is.
It was also funny to me when I was editing and stuff and watching, when I was describing my character and I said that Nelia didn't have a tail, the only person I saw who was just like, what? Was Pax. I was watching and Pax was just like, what? It was so funny.
I'm okay.
It was just funny to me that I just saw her be really confused about that statement.
Jack has been on all of these trade routes for so long with her mom. Generally no physical appearance is going to surprise her at this point. She is just like, okay, you look weird. Everyone with who isn't 7 feet tall looks weird to me. Right. And so therefore nobody looks weird.
Right. There's kind of a, okay, you fit. Sure.
You don't have a tail. I don't know tieflings well.
I don't have a tail either.
It was just really funny because you could tell that Pax knows tieflings, and Pax was just like, that makes no sense for a tiefling. It was just funny to me.
To not be any color but red.
Yeah, I know.
Color. So, if you want to have a tiefling that's got no tail, if you want a tiefling that's got 3 tails,
yeah, that's why I did 2 sets of horns.
What?
So
when I did mine and Caden's tiefling siblings that we play in another game on Hero Forge, and my tiefling has water buffalo horns, and this is not an option. Not an option on Hero Forge. So I had to approximate like this thing with two different horns. And I couldn't make them just right. So like in the back, like the second set definitely like sticks out a little and it's weird looking. That was
So,
a weird segue
speaking of
to
tiefling,
nothing.
Speaking of tieflings, the way that I, as a TM, handle tieflings is this: is we bring a little bit of science into it, even though science, is a thing. So the way I do it is, who is your fiendish ancestor?
Mhm.
Was your fiendish ancestor a pit fiend? Was your fiendish ancestor a succubus? Was your fiendish ancestor a Nergalid? what was your fiendish ancestor? And that is how you get your tiefling traits. If your fiendish ancestor was a pit fiend, you might have red or pinkish skin. Was your fiendish ancestor, I don't know, something else? Give me a second. Let me get a book.
Oh no, to the books. I see that we brought it back to succubus though, which was a thing that happened before the show even started.
Start a Yas drinking game, and one of them is take a sip every time Sarah goes and gets a book.
Oh, right.
Was your fiendish ancestor a bone devil? Then you might be white. Was your fiendish ancestor a bearded devil? You might be purple. Was your fiendish ancestor a, go on and on and on in the list. That was all devils. I opened up devils before I opened up demons. Was your fiendish ancestor of rock? You might have black skin, whatever it is. So depending on where your fiendish ancestry comes from, that is going to influence what you look like. If you have multiple horns, if you have whatever, I just knocked my cat over. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever your coloring is, whatever your eyes look like, draw from that.
Do you have a tail? Do you not have a tail? Also, again, genetics, and I'm not a geneticist. Let's say that right off the bat. But
Fun fact, I actually spent a summer in a genetics lab because I thought that I might doing intern work because I was interested in that as a possible career.
So also, how far back is your fiendish ancestry?
Right.
Is it your grandfather, your great-great-grandmother? Is it 28 generations back? You might just have a little bit of like some teeny tiny horns maybe coming up here and a little like one fang. Like how far back does it go?
Yeah, that's what I did for my latest character that I created for a different game that I scared everyone in Yas about.
The context clues were not there.
I understood exactly what Amelie was saying, because I create lots of characters for games that aren't Yes, and I am very excited about them. So I'm like, oh yes, Amelie is obviously playing a different game.
No, it was because I remember Amelie saying that like my next, like I assumed that when we were talking about making characters, Amelie was like, oh, I want to make a Dragonborn next. And I had assumed that was like, if something happens to Jack, I'll play Dragonborn. Because that's what we were talking about at that time. And then you posted the Dragonborn and I was like, what?
Everybody was like, what? No, I'm not ready to lose Jack.
No, Jack's not ready to go. Jack
I want to piggyback off of this idea about including science.
Real quick. I wasn't quite finished with my thought. But so yeah, I have technically a Dragonborn. However, the dragon in said Dragonborn's ancestry is 4 or 5 generations removed. And so he looks human, but there are like aspects to him that like, oh no, you're definitely not human. And then he does the fire breath and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna
no, definitely not. Right. Well, if you think about it, so like we've already established that we think about genetics and Punnett squares generally in the creation of Robin.
Yep, I was going to bring up Robin because I said, well, this is how Pax and I created Robin. I said, choose kind of like a main species. I said, we're going to go through both species at a time and you're going to choose the traits. So it wasn't like I was like, you can have, I'm like, we're going through. I'm like, okay, do you want the dexterity and charisma of the Tabaxi, or do you want the intelligence and whatever it is of the gnomish side? And they said, Tabaxi or whatever they said. And I was like, okay, next thing down. Do you want this thing from Tabaxi or this thing from Gnome? So it wasn't just like we did all Tabaxi and then they're just short. Like we went through and picked different things out. So they don't have, I don't think they have Gnome cunning, but they have the ability to climb from the Tabaxi and all that stuff. So we went through and like cherry picked and, you know, made this character exactly what they wanted. But yeah, genetics. Speak about genetics, Tanya. Go.
Yeah, so like clearly we already have included this in our world. And I don't think like if you want just a full-on fantasy, like why is it the way it is? Because magic. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But if you want
That is not how my brain works. That is
not how my brain works either. I'm like, but how?
So
and
I
you
will give
can
certain allowances for magic, like the fact that a Tabaxi, which is a cat, and a gnome, which is a humanoid,
somehow right.
can mate. I'm fine with that. That's magic. But after that mating is done, something is happening that is scientific.
Right. And we also don't know because we, you know, like in real life we have like ligers and
Yeah,
mules and stuff and
koi
like
dogs and
yeah. It's you know, and we're all humanoids. Um so like I honestly I don't know how minotaurs came to be minotaurs. Like maybe that's a magical like you know, looking at Greek mythology, maybe that's a magical thing that happened or whatever.
Yeah.
But like what they would Zeus, keep it in your bleeding trousers, man.
Yep.
So like yeah,
Hey,
but
Zeus
what they
did not have trousers. Zeus had a chiton, and those are much.
I'm gonna go get mine out of my closet and put it on right now. If you have time to get books, I have time to change into ancient Greek clothing. So
I got one that Sarah made me. We can match.
I actually I don't know where my chitin is, but I have a peplos. I have a Gaelic peplos, so even weirder. Okay, so like we've included science in other ways when we think about trade routes and when we think about what each of our like our cultures where they live and what they're trading, right, their geography is like. Okay, so orcs, they live up on mountains, they don't have rich growing soil, right? So they're not going to have rice paddies. Rice is not going to be a thing that orcs do. Because the science of that, right, but the science just don't work. And so you can kind of build a richness to your world by thinking about those things, by thinking about the scientific processes that created the way things are in our world and how cultures live in our world, and add that to your world. When you look at maps, these maps that exist in D&D, when you look at, you know, like Faerun for example, because that's the big one right now. It's where a lot of the campaigns,
A lot of people are very familiar with it.
because people are very familiar with it. Like they didn't just be like, oh, like I want this here and this, like this desert here and, you know, this lake here and whatever. There's like some rhyme and reason to why a lot of the topography is the way it is. You know, there's a reason that there is a desert immediately to the east of the mountains in California. It's called a rain shadow, right? So you can add in those scientific elements into your world building, and I think it adds something. And we've just added in genetics because we're
those people.
We're those people
because we are the storytellers, and we get to do that.
We are
also
people.
I feel like we are also many, at least like collectively, we are very familiar with history and science. You know, I hold 2 science degrees, but they're in like also history degrees. They're weird. And like, you know, Amelie has a lot of history knowledge, and Sarah has a lot of history knowledge, but we're all big on learning, right? We like to learn a bunch of things. Like we didn't know about rice paddy crabs until 2 weeks ago.
You're welcome.
And now we all know. Well, some of us didn't know what they looked like.
They're terrifying.
They're terrifying.
I don't.
I mean, it does not it's one of those things that like it didn't surprise me at all because like I grew up eating crawfish. Like
Right. Yeah.
that
I had a
it
bad
makes
experience with a
absolute
crab
sense.
once.
I'm sorry?
Oh, we went camping once in like on the beach, and we caught crabs a lot, and then somebody that we didn't know knocked over the bucket of crabs. That scared the shit out of me as a kid. I don't like crabs. They scare me now because of that. Because they were all near me. Like it was like right next to me. The dude knocked it over, and all the crabs like came right next to me, and it freaked me out as a kid.
But I do have to say, right, if you've been in like if you've been in Louisiana or East Texas or like anywhere where it's fairly swampy and
And that's what Rindenhurst is.
it's you get crawfish. So it didn't
And
surprise
so
me
like
either.
the idea of this crustacean living amongst the swamp areas, like it's one of those things where I didn't know it specifically, but the moment you introduced that idea to me, I was just like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would like to add, because this ecoculture we are taking this rice paddy ecoculture from is East Asian, East and Southeast Asian. That is the ecoculture that we are interpreting the rice ecoculture of Rindenhurst, because that is where rice came from, and that is where they have literal millennia of knowledge. That is where this information is coming from. I think the information that I found about rice paddy crabs mostly came from Vietnam and South China.
Yeah.
So, like, throwing that out there, this is not white people who did this. These are Asian people who developed culture and like developed the symbiotic relationship. Because I didn't do fish, because a lot of times fish, they actually prefer to keep the fish in the rice paddy
because
because
they eat stuff off of
yeah. So the fish are actually better to keep there. Crabs not so much, which is why I was like, well, they wouldn't want to. I was like, oh, I found these crabs that are kind of parasitic. That's what they can take. I was like, can you eat them? Yes, you can. Cool. That's what Neely is getting. So so that's another thing that we strive to do, that we seek to do here in Yas, is again not trying to take an entire culture and just taking it and saying this is what this is, but taking bits and pieces of cultures and ecologies and stuff from all over what we know as on Earth, and crediting those cultures.
Mhm.
And
well,
saying,
I mean, if you haven't noticed, we love to talk about where we got our inspiration from.
So it wasn't like I'm growing up in East Texas and in the swampy area. Now there is a rice culture there because rice grows very well there, and it was imported. Rice grows extraordinarily well along the Mississippi River Delta and the Sabine River Delta and all that stuff, Louisiana, because of where it naturally grows in East Asia and in East Asia. So like it's not a native crop, but it grows very well. It's an introduced crop that happens to do really well. So I grew up knowing about all of this, some of this rice paddy stuff, because of where I grew up. Also, talk to me about chicken houses, but don't, because that's a real deep dive. That's a whole nother thing.
Oh man, do I have a story about that? But we'll wait. We'll wait till chicken houses naturally comes up in conversation later.
Yeah. So anyway, so we like to pull again science, history, all of the things that have like things that are based in fact that we can pull from, and credit the people who made up the thing. Oh, speaking of crediting, Tanya, do you have the owlbear cublet? So for the crew, sorry, Houston, I mailed you all on Monday. I don't know if you've gotten yours yet. Oh, I've gotten theirs.
Mine, I'll check. I'll go check my mail right now.
Oh, that's okay. No, I mailed yours the same day I mailed Anika, so hopefully you got it. So,
yeah, you relax. Oh no, they're gone.
Nope, they're gone. So, Angela,
they want it that bad.
Angela's there. So, I bought the main cast members, some little stickers, these owlbear couplets, because I thought they were really cute. And the person I found them on Redbubble. Now, I just looked up this person's Redbubble, and those stickers aren't on there anymore. And I also looked up their actual website, and those stickers aren't on there. But they have other D&D stickers. They have like a cute, speaking of, they have a cute Mind Flayer sticker.
What?
So if you guys wanted to get a cute Mind Flayer, look at that! Mind Flayer sticker. So it is on Redbubble. The shop is Kick Girl, KICKGIRL. That is their Twitter and Instagram. Their Tumblr is Kick KICK dash, like just like an M dash, GIRL. And their website, you can find their website on there as well. It's valhochberg.com. The Art of Val Hochberg online store. So they've got some D&D stuff. They've got some Star Wars stuff. They have a really cute dragon on top of a D20. There's a really cute gelatinous cube and a beholder and a mimic. So let's see. There's a Harley Quinn. There's apparently there's a Vulpix. So they've got some Pokemon stuff. So just go in.
Dude, speaking of owlbears, yesterday.
Those are the stickers that I gave to our main cast members, all 6 of the cast members. I have 2 left because I ordered 8 because it was a deal. And but yes, we like to credit our artists, and that is who made these adorable owlbear stickers. Go find her, buy stuff from her, because all of her art. I just looked on her website, or their website. I think she's a she, her pronouns. On their website, and they are not taking commissions right now, but they do take commissions at certain points. So if you really like this really cute art, and they end up taking commission them for stuff. So go.
Yeah.
So yesterday,
Session 0 last night. I was like, Anika, come up, like, what's the story of how you met these 2 characters? They're like.
So I was like, the characters up the Pine Ranger, because I was like, I want to be like the guy from Amnesty. I literally can't remember his name, but I remember the sword's name.
We had this job, was like, yeah, the Emerald Protectorate. No. The Emerald Enclave is not the Emerald Protectorate, and the Pine Guard is not the Emerald Protectorate, but apparently now all things are Emerald Protectorate.
Yeah. But so I was like, since my character's like the part of the Pine Guard in this town, I like took the 2 characters and I was like, do you guys want to see some baby owlbears? And that my character had like found like the day before, and so I took, it's Caden, it's Tanya's kid. I took Caden's character to see him. Like, Caden's character is like losing his goddamn mind at babies. Like, he's just like, oh my god. It was so fun.
So owlbear cublets are totally making their way into other games now.
Yeah, I would also just say like owlbear cublets are just straight up making their way as our mascot. Like they kind of are. At some point, there's going to be like, we're going to have shirts with an owlbear cublet on it because we just keep talking about them. Those owlbear cublets, I gotta write it down. Like they gotta make like a year from now, you guys are gonna like show up. There's gonna be like an owlbear cublet who's like,
I'd be like, let me think here.
You like wander to Lindenhurst and be like, moo, and find one of you and just be like, hey friend. Anyway,
hey friend,
gonna like just kind of glomp on Jack because she's the biggest.
Yeah,
that seems legit.
So, anyway, speaking of crediting artists, we like to credit our artists, and even the ones stuff that we said that you can't see, but I like their art. It's very cute, and you should go find stuff from them. Support artists.
Speaking of animals, sorry.
Yes, go on. I was gonna say because we're over our hour.
Are we? Not yet.
No, we are.
1:30 is the end.
10 minutes to our hour.
Oh right, I'm on our old time.
Yeah, I was early. I was like really confused earlier, but so. Hey, Jack has a friend, a tiny animal friend that isn't scared of Jack. You're muted. Oh wait, no, you're not. You're good.
No, I'm not.
It was weird. You're good.
I'm having some technology issues today, and I'm rolling with them.
It's all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't worry. The ferret is going a long way to like make sure that Nelia is trustable. Like, oh well, I mean, if this tiny creature trusts her, can't be all that bad.
Right. If you travel with
people don't have cute pets.
Yeah. Does the ferret have a name?
Oh, his name is Mick. M-I-C-K. Mick. And then after I named him that, I was like, God, it really sounds like Meek. Am I really Korg?
Yeah.
You're Korg.
I love Korg though.
I know, me too.
Who doesn't love Korg?
People who don't watch Marvel movies.
Yeah.
People who don't love Taika Waititi as well.
That also.
True.
Like, oh my God. Korg is honestly one of my favorite things about
I
Ragnarok.
liked an Endgame when he was like, Thor, these guys are making fun of me. Help me.
Good times.
Yeah.
Do we have any? Okay, here's the problem. I barely remember what happened in episode 13, and I know we're supposed to be discussing things that happened in episode 13.
We discussed a lot. We discussed Anika's new character. We discussed rice patty crabs. We discussed
You know
many
what we
things that
didn't
happened.
discuss, though?
What's that?
The giant realization about Zareth.
Oh yeah.
That he's
Somebody remind me, because I remember it happened, but
He's a gift.
whatever.
I figured it out like a week ago
He
by
was born
accident.
again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he
so
was born again.
he was born a Githyanki, but through the magic of Tiamat became a Dragonborn. Because
You guys not helping.
when I went to when I said, okay, we're gonna do Illithid, we're gonna do Mind Flayers, we're gonna do this. I was like, I'm gonna introduce their historical enemies, which are the Githyanki or the Githrazizel, but mostly the Githyanki. So when I was talking to David, I was like, hey, how do you feel about playing a Gith? He's like, okay. Because that is literally their job. Their job is to hunt out and kill Illithid. And then he was like, hey, I kind of want to be a Dragonborn. Can I do this? And I was like, okay, I don't care. As long as you still have, he's like, oh yeah, I still have that inner burning hatred of, and I have that. He doesn't have the Githyanki, like any kind of psionic abilities. But he's like, yeah, no, I was born a Gith. First 50 years of my life is Gith. Hate the Illithid. Still on the journey to kill the Illithid. And I've said, cool, down with it, bro. So that's how that happened. Now react.
So-
Right. So I remember. So the whole thing just sort of breaks Whistler. And all I can
feel
remember
so
is
bad.
Finland basically grabbing Whistler and promising, like when Finland is dead, Finland will be dead. Because like Whistler's just having a moment with like lich kitties and like resurrections. It's just like, is death and life just no longer what I think that it is?
yeah. What was sticking with me, and y'all, I can't tell if this is a memory of a conversation that we had or if I dreamt it. So y'all are gonna have to tell me.
Both equally valid. Yeah.
So did we have a conversation about Robin calling everyone murderers?
Yes.
Okay, and like how like it's kind of, it might be just like a little bit lost in translation because like,
Yep.
okay, cool,
So
not a dream.
basically, it was Zareth basically described his work.
And then Robin
as
was like, we all
murder.
kill people. And I was like,
Right. And so, like, for Finland, like, murder is something very different from what happens in war, right? Because in war, you have agreed that you are attacking each other and that death is a very, very strong possibility. But you've entered an agreement with your enemies. And like that's how, I mean, especially since now their war culture is mercenaries, they're hired out, right? That this it's all contractual. Ergo, it cannot be murder, which is taking another sentient creature's life without their permission, unprovoked, like unprovoked in a battle sense, right? Because like just because somebody makes you angry doesn't mean you get to kill them. You know, self-defense is a
And
thing.
on top of
not
that,
murder.
like Robin also brought up the fact that, you know, Jack eats meat.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, Jack was like, I am so angry right now. We just got to an agreement and now you're calling me a murderer because I eat what my people have eaten
for
generations. Like, I am not okay right now.
And there's that whole thing where like you know, it's only like a culture that eats meat, which gets called into like question in that moment.
yeah.
It's not like minotaurs who can't, they just can't digest it, right? because it's not got a moral imperative on it. But people will place a moral imperative. Oh, like you've chosen not to eat meat. No, we literally just can't digest it. Again, not a minotaur though, but love cheese. Cheese is my new favorite thing. But like, yeah, that there's this whole, okay, so if I kill a whatever the equivalent of a pig is, and like we haven't
Be a
seen them,
pig. You
we
just
haven't
just,
right. Well, I remember we were like these giant like pigs that are like very woolly, which
Oh yeah,
is
those I what
that works.
those it's those sheep pigs that exist from
Yeah, like sheep pigs,
Norway
which are
or
based
something
on
like
a
that.
yeah. So they exist on Earth, but we were like, but make them even fuzzier.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of the things that orcs use for making one of their fibers.
Yeah.
But they're clearly also going to be edible. And it's like, why wouldn't you use this animal, especially when you live in a place where
Things
other
don't grow.
protein? Yeah, things don't
This
grow. Where
is
are you
where-
getting protein?
Where Sarah starts talking about the so there's obviously a lot of talk about this, but there are a lot of cultures where meat is an integral part of their
Yeah.
food culture. The
Yeah.
ones I'm thinking about right now are the First Nations and Native people of Canada and Alaska.
Yeah.
And Greenland. It is when you live in the ice. This also
Right.
includes the Samis as well. The Samis and northern
Norway.
northern Scandinavia, all that area. That when you cannot grow crops, you figure out a way to feed yourself. And that includes the eating of whale meat and seal meat and things like that. Reindeer.
Right, and caribou and
caribou, all of those creatures that can find nutrients or whatever. It's kind of circle of life. And then I also bring up
kids, reindeer also.
Yeah. I, Sarah, personally am a vegetarian, but I do not have any like personal problems with people eating meat. It's a personal choice I have made. Also, here's the next thing. I enjoy leather, like leather shoes. That's all I have is leather shoes and stuff like that because I've made a personal quest to just buy quality goods and these things are going to last the rest of my life. But I also know that the leather that my shoes were made out of, also became meat. So there's a sense of you use the whole damn animal. It's not a wasteful production. You do tip to tail. You use the bones. You use the meat. You use the sinew. You use the. Is that my mom calling? No. Okay. You use. Sorry, my phone is ringing, and it's only ever my mom who calls me. So I was like, my mom's calling, but it is not. It's a robocall. So you use the bones. You use the meat. You use the sinew. You use the fiber. You use the leather. You use the ears. You use the teeth. You use everything and stuff. You eat it. You make jewelry out of it. You make clothes out of it. You make your house out of it. Your tools out of it. So that's something that I hope to, if we ever get to something like this, that's something that also happens with emerald protectors. It's not just about plants and like protecting the animals, but like promoting good animal husbandry, not just in the emerald weald itself, but the surrounding areas that have goats and sheep.
I think that there's clearly I talk about anthropology a lot, and there's it's basically a concept of living conscientiously in your world, right? And realizing, because one thing is that it's easy for people in like first world countries to be able to choose to become vegetarian or vegan because we have such robust food choices and we have the ability.
Food deserts, but that's a whole other rant. Sarah's not going on.
Right. But when you look,
world, can we refer to them as the G12?
Yeah, we can. So when you're looking at cultures globally, not everybody is going to have access to basically the products of literally every other continent, right? So your choices are much more limited. So you have to be aware that when you are making these choices, you're making these choices kind of on the back of being able to have that choice. And that doesn't make other cultures like inherently bad because they haven't seen the light or whatever. But it's a matter of living conscientiously. What does my body need and what does the world around me provide for me to get those needs in the context that I'm living in? And I think that that's kind of that part of the thing that's happening where it's like talking past each other, where Robin comes from a big city, right?
And Robin's family is wealthy. It's not
And
just the
Robin's family is wealthy.
They had the
And
resources to go vegan, essentially.
right. And so yeah, there's gonna be a bit of like culture clash. And then on top of that, there's the culture clash where Zareth basically is owning the fact that part of his imperative in life has been to hunt down illithids, and that this is murder, and owns that. And that's just like, but I don't what? Like what?
Y'all are
Right?
so
And
glad
so
Nelia
I think
wasn't
it was a
there when
really
Robin said it.
That's fair.
I'm a
But it was
fisher. I live off the fish.
But
So
I think it's really interesting. I kind of forgot it until Amelie mentioned it. Who also, I will point out, Amelie thought it was a dream conversation, so I don't feel too bad about it. But I think that's really interesting. It was almost
So I don't trust anything from before.
like right. I don't know. I've slept since then.
I was doing
I
this.
think it was an interesting moment that we kind of blew past in order to like get to the portal. But I'm wondering how that will like come back, because like yeah, that conversation happened. These words were said.
I'm just
And
saying, if Robin
I did
said,
revisit it a little bit in the idea that while in the library, in the idea that Jack is not communicating well with Robin at all right now. And it's it's going from useless sapphic to like actual like problems between people because of a lack of communication.
I'm just saying, if Robin calls me a murderer.
Lost it in the library.
Yeah.
Jack
And
got kicked
yeah,
out of the
part of
library.
it was that I was hangry, and part of it was that Robin called Jack a murderer.
Yeah, I was like, if that happened to me, well, if my character was with you guys, I would have like been like, hey, you don't know my life. I have a fishing boat and I eat fish. Deal with it.
Right, because that's the thing. Like, all right, are we going to agree that killing illithids is murder? Are we going to agree that killing pigs murder? How about crabs? Like, this is a conversation that humans have been having for as long. I mean, maybe not the illithid part of it, but you get my point. But like that we've been having on this planet for thousands and thousands of years.
Well, this is
like I don't know. We're
the first. This is my journey into vegetarianism. The first animals I stopped eating were pigs. That was the first one that I stopped eating because I have. And speaking of Sarah's anxieties, because of their intelligence, because of their community and all that stuff. So that was the first animal I stopped eating, and then I stopped eating all red meat, and then I stopped eating chicken and fish and vegetarians. So it went from stopped eating pigs, stopped eating all mammals, stopped eating fish and fowl as well, completely vegetarian. Still eat cheese, still have honey. Those are animal products. The animals don't get hurt. I still use butter. Okay, sorry. This is a rant I have. But where was I going with this? Oh, it goes to the what is acceptable.
Yes.
What's acceptable? And different cultures have different meanings of what is acceptable. Is it acceptable to eat a horse? Is it acceptable
You're
to
French?
Yes. Jack. Is it acceptable to eat a macaque monkey? It goes into.
Oh, are we answering these, or these are
no?
rhetorical?
These are just. If you want them, you're more than welcome to. But these are those rhetorical, like when we talk about,
bat wing soup.
Exactly. What is it that we do you eat dog or cat or whatever it is? Now that goes into another thing about taste, and I'm eating carnivores, and carnivores are going to taste worse than herbivores. So that's just a whole nother thing. When we talk about things being gamey, there's a reason we talk about that. But also, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in a redneck family, like redneck, and I mean it in such a like traditional way of like going mudding, going hunting, going fishing, like mend and make do, not just ignorance.
Right.
So like when I talk about redneck, I'm talking about like outdoorsy people who make their own stuff and go hunting and go fishing and like that kind of redneck. Also, like hate the cops because you make illegal things on the side.
Moonshine.
So there's that. So like that's the family that I grew up in. So I know, even though I myself am not a hunter or fisher or farmer or whatever, that was the surrounding that I grew up in. So I grew up with deer heads on deer feet and antlers and stuffed fish and a bobcat on our walls at the home that I grew up in because my dad and grandfather had fished and hunted them. So I have Sarah has a lot of opinions about hunting, which is it's okay if you hunt for meat and you, again, use all the damn animal. So my dad just didn't sport hunt. He hunted the animal, and yes, there may be a head hanging up, but you better believe we ate backstrap sausage, like that kind of like stuff. And anyway, so that's how it's relating it back to this is not everybody that animal protectors is vegan or vegetarian. They eat meat, but they have the whole animal concept of slaughtering, killing, respecting the animal as it is, using all the bits of the animal, using the intestines to make sausage casings, doing all that stuff. So it is possible to have that kind of culture of like protecting nature that still involves the cultivation and eating of animal flesh.
I just want to say that I love that we have taken this this really big human topic and it's actually interjected itself into our D&D world. Yeah. I don't think it was one of those Pax isn't here, but Pax will tell you that they often kind of play off the cuff and they'll say stuff and then we're like, I had no idea that was coming out of my mouth, but there it went. And I don't know if that was one of those moments where that like, but you eat meat and meat is murder moment was a
conscious choice.
Was a conscious choice or
Robin just said it.
There it is. But like, yeah, now it now exists in our world, in our little group, and yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, we will say this: whoever is watching, for those of you who are watching, Yas, the people of Yas, do not give you any judgments on the food you choose to do or not eat. Food is private. For some people, food is public for some people. Food is hard for some people. Hi, I'm Sarah.
Food allergies are a thing too.
Yeah. So your diet, and I don't mean diet and like trying to lose weight. I mean diet by meaning the foods and type of foods and when you eat is personal to you. We give you no judgments on what those are. If food is hard for you, then I understand where you're coming from, and there are resources out there to make food easier in some ways for you. So yeah, we are not putting any moral judgments on any diet, food way of any person that is watching, that isn't watching, that exists in the world, unless you're just extraordinarily wasteful. And I'm like,
And if you've only been eating like cheese balls for a week,
I mean,
I have too. We've all been.
It's not a judgment. It is a hey. You deserve health support.
It's not a judgment. It's a concern issue of your body deserves nutrients, and you do get nutrients from eating cheese balls, but maybe also have some applesauce.
So I just realized that
like a spinach leaf.
I just realized that that Nelia has a bag of crabs with them in the portal.
Yeah, she does.
Well, you know what that sounds like to me?
I just realized that. No, I'm probably gonna be like, Nelia just like puts ties the bag all up and just like puts it outside the portal. I'm not taking that bag with me.
That's money. That's money.
Yeah. Putting it right there.
Well, we have to leave it
yes.
Crab weapon, I think.
The crab bag.
Bag of crabs.
Okay, well.
Do I have to make stats for bag of crabs now? God
damn. Hey, I have a big bag of crabs. I mean.
Okay, here we go. It's got 20-foot throwing range. It's you got to use strength to throw it because there's a lot of crabs. You got to run for strength. It's a strength throw, and it's an area of effect, 10 feet. The crab bag opens, and anybody within that 10 feet takes 1d4 pincing damage. There we go. Bag of crab damage. Pincer damage.
I'm not gonna use that. I gotta keep the crabs.
Well, if it ever come up,
we don't know what's gonna happen, but you can use it in a pinch.
Yes. Hey. You will bring this OOC up, bring it up on YouTube, and say, "Hey, Sarah, this is where you said this is what a bag of crabs would do." And if you ever have another bag of crabs, then
if anybody is looking to add bag of crabs
to your homebrew, 10-foot radius, strength, I would say it's a strength throw to make the throw, and then whoever's in the 10-foot the 10-foot
Dex to dodge.
it's a Constitution.
Ooh.
I
And-
will
Mm-hmm.
down Maggie's fart accordion that she made for the bard in our campaign. Yeah, it's an accordion, and when you play certain notes, it does certain spells, including Stink Cloud.
Yeah, as a DM, you get to make lots of really fun. People are like, "Can I have this?" And I'm like, "Well, we'll figure it out."
We should do make our own, like make a new magic item
Yes.
by committee thing real soon.
Yes.
So look
Yes.
for us live on Facebook soon in the future.
Somewhere,
we'll put out some
here,
information.
Facebook, somewhere where we can go live.
And you can help us build a magic item.
Yeah. For what purpose? I don't know. We're gonna find out once we make it.
Yep.
Yep.
So
I like it.
we're at time. We went over
Yeah,
as always.
we went over.
Thank you all so much for tuning
I'm gonna
in
go to laundry.
this week. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we are going to be doing an OOC next week, right?
Yes, and
Yes.
I believe next week we're going to actually be talking about basically D&D in the world post Taz and Critical Role.
in Dimension 20.
Okay.
And then after that we'll be talking about episode 14, and then after that we're actually going to have a guest on.
Yes.
Yay.
Statistics.
Her name is Johanna, and she works at a group called D&D Research. You can find them on Instagram at dnd.research, and they
To make sure
a
that
D, an N,
D.
yeah, and a D, dot research, and they do a lot of surveys about who's gaming, what they're gaming, how they're gaming, and they will periodically do stuff like every year to see how things change. And there's a lot of interesting data out there, especially on gender. So clearly we're gonna
Talk about that.
chat about that.
One
But
thing,
that's like in a month. But
one thing I'd also like to bring up, we're talking about the impact of Taz, Critical Role, Dimension 20, other larger streams on Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs in general. Find us on our socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you have questions like, "Hey, did you start playing this game because of these things? What is it? How has it changed for you? If you played before the streams, and any questions you have for us about that, that would be great, because we can just we can talk about anything. But having questions, focused questions, helps.
yes. Otherwise, it keeps us off the seg train coaster.
Yes.
Yeah. If I have a list of questions to say, "Hey, you guys, answer these questions." If you watch the panel, if you watch the SnailCon panel, like, we generally stay on because I had questions to
I
ask.
hadn't
Is that up?
No.
Anika.
No.
Okay. Someday that'll be up and you can watch it.
Yeah.
So
One
I
day.
was like, we have questions. We have 8 minutes per question. We're going.
Yep. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye. everybody.
Bye.
See you next week.